now welcome in ESPN front office insider and cap savant Bobby Marks to the show. Bobby, welcome. And you brought us some breaking news, please. Before we move on, talk to us about Kawhi and the Clippers.
Rachel, Kawhi Leonard drama part 2
yes.
is now over. We do not have to worry about Kawhi Leonard not going back to the Clippers. I talked to multiple people close to the organization today, and they gave me a 100% guarantee that Leonard will be in a Clipper uniform, well, at least rehabbing in a Clipper uniform next year. And I think the big thing now is just kind of working out what the contract's going to be, if it's going to be one of those 2-year contracts where Leonard can become a free agent again next offseason to sign that $240+ million contract, or if it's going to be a 4-year, $175 million contract. But they told me that they've been in contact with Leonard throughout this whole process, that there was never a doubt that he was not coming back. And I think, Rachel, we saw the market kind of dictate that when teams like New York went out and used cap space, when the Heat went out and got Kyle Lowry, that it's a little bit different than 2019 when free agency was totally frozen.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that we didn't have the helicopter chasing a car and an SUV and the fans waiting outside of a hotel in case the meeting was there kind of speaks to the fact that most people thought this was a done deal, which is why most other teams spent that cap room. But then, of course, as the days dragged on, I know there are Clippers fans who have been a little bit nervous here. And 100% assurance, Bobby, that is some serious news. So we really appreciate that. I had to, though, bring back this flow chart that you wrote and posted at the beginning of free agency. We put it on the show that day. You just did this like in a conference room for yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. I was actually locked in a conference room by myself. There was nobody. There were windows there. And that was it. We hadn't even gotten to free agency yet. So you imagine what I can do right now with about 4 hours sleep. So, yeah. And that was basically, we showed how Kyle Lowry dictated free agency. And it all lined up as far as Kyle's move to Miami and how all the other pieces kind of fell in place.
Well, from that flow chart, the other storylines that flow are, we're talking about, right, some of the biggest storylines between the season begins. You have got the Dame Lillard situation going on in Portland because, you know, he's got a 4th album coming out. Should we talk about that, Matt?
Absolutely.
Okay. Or maybe we'll talk about which team he's going to play for next year. He has stressed multiple times he has not publicly requested a trade to the Blazers, who, of course, themselves have stayed pretty quiet during free agency. And Dame did give his thoughts, though, on Portland's move so far. Take a listen.
You know, we wasn't able to go out there and just get, you know, some of the guys that we would have liked. And, you know, you go down the list and you go through the guys that you like that are out there that haven't committed to another team or that was a part of your plans in free agency. And you get the ones that, you know, that want to be a part of what you're doing. And I think that's what we did.
All right. So hearing that, Bobby, what should we look for next with Dame's future in Portland?
Yeah, I think this is going to play out a little bit, Rachel. I think Lillard will go to training camp. I expect him to be in a Trailblazer uniform. And this is something that will, when we get to December or January, based on where this Portland team is, and he looks at the pieces that are around him. I mean, they brought Norman Powell back, but then it was all bargain shopping. Cody Zeller, Ben McLemore, Tony Snell. That's kind of your bench for the veteran minimum. And they don't have much out there except for maybe flipping CJ McCollum. So I think this plays out. And the season will basically dictate as far as what Lillard's future is going to be here in Portland.
Matt, it's an interesting position for him as a player because one of the sort of backbones of his tenure in Portland has been how loyal he has been to the franchise, how he's talked about not wanting to just run off and join a super team. But if the front office isn't doing what you think they need to do, does that put you in a rock and a hard place? Because Bobby's talking about maybe asking for a trade mid-season, and that just doesn't seem like it's in Dame Lillard's character.
I think Dame is doing everything he's supposed to do as a player and a leader of that organization and sticking to the script. But I think without being said, this management and front office has a lot of pressure on them. They haven't really done anything significant to make this team a real contender yet in the offseason. Like you said, they can still play with the CJ McCollum and see what they could possibly get with him. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, loyalty is great, and we all want that loyalty. But at the end of the day, are you going to continue to waste? I wouldn't say waste because they've had some good runs, but are you continue to spend your prime years in a situation where you know you're not going to be able to win a championship? So we'll have to see how this continues to play out, and it'll be interesting to see if you know, come January that they're in the middle of the pack or towards the bottom, you know, of the playoff seeding if he does ask for a trade.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.